So in terms of funds, I'm going to recommend Terry's fund. I think it's an outstanding long-term lock-away. I'm going to recommend the Magna Biopharma Income Fund, which is run by Andy Smith, who's here, and you can go and talk to him, along with Anthony Chow, and I'm a big bull on both of those guys. Magna Eastern European Fund, if you want to have exposure to Eastern Europe in small size. In terms of the large cap, Bristol Squibb Myers, or Myers Squibb rather, is the leader in immunotherapy, which is going to be the dominant feature of oncology or cancer treatment in the next 10 years, and so much so that oncology by immunotherapy, which is the marshalling of your body's own immune system to fight cancer, to get behind the veil or the defenses that cancer put up. It's going to go from about 3% of the sales of cancer drugs today to over 70% in 10 years. It's that important in terms of a change. So Bristol is a very good company to lock away long term. It's a very big company. Gilead, I'm going to get onto in a second. I really like that. That's my big cap stock that I think that everyone should have a share of. Terry Smith was talking about exposure to things that people eat or drink or do every day. Anheuser-Busch InBev, my next door neighbor in Brussels, is one of the big shareholders of that. It's a Belgian company originally. That's a fantastic business, about 12 times earnings. Exposure to emerging markets, exposure to the US through that horrible beer, Budweiser, but it's just a massive cash machine, and I like that for the long term. It's got a good dividend. Rio is a fantastic mining company, cutting its costs, really focusing its areas, and I think if you want to be involved in commodities, and I think we all should in the long term, that's a good large cap to own. And then go along the Nikkei futures contract, as I mentioned earlier. So in terms of Gilead, the reason I really like that is some of you may not know this, but hepatitis C is now cured. In the last 2 years, it's cured. You have to pay $84,000 to get the pills that will cure you, but they will cure you. And the drug, which is called Sovaldi, went on the market at the end of 2013, and the first quarter of this year, they just announced their results this week, it had sales of $2.4 billion US in 1 quarter. Now, questions have been raised about the pricing of that drug. I don't think it matters at all. I think it's going to be a massive drug, and I expect that Gilead this year, which I think is on around 11 or 12 times this year's earnings, will be an excellent big cap performer. It also has the largest HIV franchise, and it has in development an interesting cancer portfolio. Incyte is my favorite mid-cap company in the biopharma space. It's got the Jakafi drug and an IDO inhibitor, and if you want to know what those are, go and ask Andy Smith afterwards, or indeed Alex Pickett, my other colleague who knows all about this sort of stuff, but I'm a big fan of Incyte, and I think it will, like the company I recommended here 2 years ago, Onyx, be acquired sometime in the next year or two. And so those are my bio-cap recommendations. In terms of the other mid-cap size, last year I was talking about Arrowhead Research Corporation as a very small company. In the last year, the share price has gone up nearly 10 times. It was up 15 to 16 times. Chris Anzalone, despite the fact he's a busy man, is on the way, he's here, and he's on the way to curing hepatitis B. The late-stage trial's going on in Hong Kong as we speak. He has the largest library of so-called Cerner drugs in the world, which he acquired from Roche a couple of years ago, and I'm a big fan of Chris, I'm a big fan of Arrowhead Research. It's got a market cap today of around, I think, $600 million US, and it was $30 million this time last year, and he's got a lot of cash on the balance sheet. So he's well funded. Sangamo is a company that's involved in this really exciting area of gene editing, something that I think you might want to read about. Gene editing is getting very important, where you edit out defective genes. Sangamo uses something called zinc finger nucleases, and it's successfully edited out the HIV gene in a number of patients, and I think that that's going to be a very interesting development. But the really exciting one is something called CRISPRs. It's not a brand of chocolate sold in the local newsagent. It is a way of editing genes that can be done in a mechanical or non-labor-intensive way, and it's going to be very big news over the next couple of years, so watch out for that, CRISPRs. Synergy, I must mention Synergy, is run by friends of mine who are here. It's got a drug in late-stage phase 3. The readout will come very soon. It's for chronic constipation. I think that company will be taken over. It's self-professed up for sale, and I think that's a great buy, a bit like I recommended Apple last year, as you may remember, at $425, and it's now $560. I think Apple, by the way, is no longer a buy, but I think Synergy is one of those things that you could make 30 or 40% on quite comfortably with relatively low risk over the next year, and I really like the people who work there. GenFit is a French company involved in a new disease that we never knew existed before called NASH, but apparently 8 to 10% of us have it, and it's basically fatty liver disease. Its alternative company, which is called Intercept, has a market cap of $5 to $6 billion US. GenFit is about a tenth the price. I've been to visit them in Lille. It's traded in France, and I really like that company, and I think you could bank that one. And Pharmacyclics is a relatively large company with a BTK inhibitor, cancer inhibitor for blood disease in the United States in partnership with Johnson & Johnson. I think that's another company that gets taken out. Plethora was one of the best companies in the last year, and Jamie Gibson, who's now the new CEO, has cleaned up the company. We've got approval in Europe. We're going to commercialize in Europe relatively soon. We're making the samples at the moment, and it's in front of the FDA, and it's a great drug for a very big unmet condition, and our internal modeling is that we have peak sales of at least $1 billion US in that drug when it starts getting fully commercialized. Summit is here, and they have 2 shots on goal, an antibiotic and a drug for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's very well run. It's fully funded now. Really like it. Webis, which is our gambling company, has just got a contract with the Hong Kong Jockey Club, the only people ever to get a contract with the Hong Kong Jockey Club to act for them internationally, which is a really big deal, by the way, and its US business is growing very quickly as well. And Manx Financial Group, some of you will have heard talking this morning, and I really like that business. It's on a very strong growth path, and it's a